Episode 3, Fire and Shadows. The afternoon unfurled like a painting of light and wind. The sun hovered lazily over the Knight estate, laying gold across the marble terraces and carving soft glows on the windows. From her balcony, Isabella Knight watched that golden sprawl below and found the stillness oddly theatrical. The world behaved as if someone had choreographed it. Birds tracing invisible paths, fountains catching light in perfect rhythm. Then came movement that drew her eye, the familiar figure crossing the courtyard with military precision. Black uniform, steady stride, shoulders like they were carved to carry an empire. Ethan Cole was, as usual, the most serious piece of scenery imaginable. A smile threatened her composure. "Oh, look," she murmured to herself, "the human statue moves." Ethan scanned the perimeter as if danger might bloom between the tulips. His expression was the same unyielding calm that could make clocks feel self-conscious about ticking too loudly. Isabella leaned against the railing, chin resting on her hand, studying him the way an artist studies contrast. It would have been a serene moment if her brain had not betrayed her with a whisper. "He's unfairly beautiful." And then, of course, she scolded herself immediately. "Ridiculous," she muttered. "Appreciate the view, don't audition for heartbreak." Below, Ethan paused as if sensing her gaze. He looked up, precisely, unhurriedly. Their eyes met, the afternoon between them trembling with quiet sunlight. Isabella straightened, trying for dignity but ending up somewhere between regal and cautered-handed. "Afternoon, Miss Knight," he called. His voice was warm steel, controlled, resonant, impossible to ignore. "Afternoon, Mr. Cole," she replied, feigning boredom. "You're alarmingly punctual. Do you practice walking on exact seconds, or does the earth adjust for you?" "I prefer order," he said simply. "Of course you do," her smile curved. "One day I'll find what happens if you step out of line." "Hopefully nothing dangerous," he replied, expression steady. "Danger is my middle name." "I doubt your father would approve of that, Miss Danger." She blinked, then laughed. "You're improving, Mr. Cole. A joke, did the sun bribe you?" His gaze didn't waver. Observation, not humor. "Mem," she said, "I'll allow it." He gave a faint nod and continued toward the main hall, leaving Isabella to lean over the balcony again, watching him vanish beneath the archway. "You're impossible," she whispered, half irritated, half delighted, "and infuriatingly photogenic." The next hour unfolded in the sun-warmed drawing room where Isabella's friends, 3 fashionable tornadoes named Clara, Gemma, and Leela, had arrived to help her prepare for that evening's charity gala. Fabric samples, shoe boxes, and laughter littered the air like confetti. The girls were armed with opinions, and Isabella, despite her practiced poise, was already surrendering to their chaos. "Tell us again," Clara insisted, stretching across the velvet sofa, "about your bodyguard." "He's not my bodyguard," Isabella said with a sigh. "He's assigned to the family." "Same thing," Gemma said. "But my goodness, that man. When he opens a door, I swear I hear dramatic music." "Exactly," Leela chimed in. "He looks like someone straight out of a cinematic trailer, those eyes, that jawline. Isabella, how do you even function near him?" "I schedule internal breakdowns," Isabella said dryly. The girls exploded into laughter. Gemma fanned herself with a magazine. "I saw him last week when I visited your office. He looked at me once, and I forgot how to use words. Actual words." "Because he doesn't look darling," Clara said dreamily. He scans, like his gaze has security clearance. Isabella tried to hide her grin behind a cushion. You're all hopeless. Hopelessly observant, Leela corrected. Seriously, Bella, he's the kind of man who could read a grocery list and make it sound like national strategy. That's because he probably has one, Isabella said. A classified grocery list. Don't pretend you don't notice him, Clara teased. I notice everything, Isabella replied loftily. I just prefer my aesthetics silent. They giggled like schoolgirls in a castle, tossing playful remarks that bounced around the high-ceilinged room. But beneath the jokes, Isabella felt the faintest echo of something new, a pulse she didn't quite understand whenever Ethan's name lingered in the air too long. Formal meeting. Later, the laughter subsided into the dignified rhythm of the mansion's afternoon bustle. Isabella's father, Alexander Knight, was in his study, a cathedral of books and brass, when Ethan entered with his usual calm. Mr. Knight, he greeted. Alexander looked up from a document, glasses slipping down his nose. Ah, Cole, everything in order for tonight. Yes, sir. The security team has reviewed all entry points. Vehicles will be scanned before arrival. Emergency protocol briefed. Excellent. The older man leaned back, nodding with satisfaction. You've been with us for nearly a year now, haven't you? Yes, sir. I must say, it's rare to find someone as steady as you. My daughter can be spirited. Ethan allowed the faintest hint of a smile. She keeps the world lively, sir. Alexander chuckled. That's one way to put it. I trust you with her safety completely. Ethan's voice softened. You have my word. There was no bravado, no arrogance, just quiet conviction. Alexander recognized it instantly and felt a flicker of relief that could only come from a father who knew his child was protected by someone immovable. Outside the door, Isabella paused mid-step, overhearing the tail end of the conversation. She smiled faintly, not the mischievous smile she usually wore, but a different one. Smaller, honest. Then she composed herself and knocked dramatically. Permission to interrupt the security summit, she called. Her father rolled his eyes affectionately. Come in, darling. She entered like sunlight, teasing tone already loaded. Gentlemen, I hope you're not plotting to replace me with robots. Not yet, Alexander said. Cole was just updating me. Ethan stood straighter. Everything is ready for tonight, Miss Knight. Of course it is, she said sweetly. You probably have emergency plans for my hairstyle, too. Only if it becomes a hazard, he replied without pause. Alexander tried not to laugh. Good luck tonight, son. Ethan inclined his head, excusing himself quietly, while Isabella watched him leave with a grin tugging at her lips. The charity gala. Isabella descended the grand staircase in a silken gown that caught every shimmer of light. The color, soft champagne with a whisper of gold, hugged her figure like confidence made visible. Her hair framed her face in perfect, deliberate disarray. She looked like a poem that had learned how to walk. At the foot of the stairs stood Ethan Cole, composed and impossibly still. He wore his standard black suit, tailored with military precision, no hint of vanity, yet somehow he made the room look underdressed. Tell me honestly, do you polish that calm face every morning, or does it come naturally? She said. He didn't blink. It's standard maintenance. Her lips curved. Ah, so it is work. I knew serenity couldn't be that effortless. Would you prefer chaos? I live for it. He opened the car door, one eyebrow barely lifting. "Then please, Miss Knight, try to limit yours to social conversation this evening." "Is that an order?" "A plea," he said simply. She laughed, stepping into the sleek black limousine as the evening air hummed around them. The arrival. The gala was a cathedral of light and sound. Crystals hung from the ceilings, orchestral strings floated through the air, and the scent of roses and champagne mingled like an unspoken promise of luxury. Politicians, investors, and aristocrats moved in elegant clusters, laughter disguised as diplomacy. Ethan followed Isabella through the glittering crowd, never more than a few steps behind her. His posture was a perfect study in vigilance, sharp eyes, steady presence. And yet, wherever he moved, heads turned. He didn't seem to notice the subtle chaos of admiration forming in his wake. But Isabella's friends did. Oh, they noticed everything. The friends' admiration. "Is that him?" Clara hissed as Isabella approached the group of elegantly dressed women near the rose display. "The statue," Gemma whispered dramatically. "The divine sculpture of stoicism." Leela's jaw dropped. "By the stars, he's even more perfect up close. He looks like someone made security sexy." "Girls," Isabella warned with mock severity, "he can hear you." Clara tilted her head, unbothered. "Good. Maybe it'll make him blink for once." Gemma fanned herself. "Do you think he ever smiles in private, or is that classified information?" Leela nodded gravely. "I'd sign a non-disclosure agreement just to find out." Isabella snorted, trying and failing to look unimpressed. "You're all embarrassing yourselves." Clara smirked. "Please, Isabella, you're one look away from joining us." Isabella folded her arms. "I'm immune. He's just very composed." "Composed?" Gemma said with mock outrage. "Darling, he looks like a Greek tragedy that learned self-defense." The girls erupted into laughter, half trying to peek at Ethan, who stood nearby, arms folded, expression perfectly neutral, eyes scanning the room as though he were deaf to every word. Isabella leaned toward her friends, voice dropping to a playful whisper. "Watch this." She turned slightly, calling over her shoulder, "Mr. Cole." "Yes, Miss Knight." His tone was even polite. "Are you enjoying yourself?" "I'm working." "Ah, such dedication. Tell me, does anyone ever accuse you of being human?" He blinked once. "Occasionally." "Good to know," she said sweetly, turning back to her friends. "See, the man is unflappable." Leela sighed. "I think I'm in love." Clara nudged her. "Get in line." Isabella rolled her eyes, laughing. "Honestly, you'd think none of you had ever seen a disciplined man before." "Not one who looks like that," Gemma murmured. Ethan, of course, stood stoically through all of it. But Isabella noticed the faintest flicker of awareness in his eyes, the subtle tightening of his jaw that betrayed he'd heard every word. And for some reason, that made her grin. The unexpected moment. As the night deepened, speeches were made, champagne flowed, and the orchestra drifted into something softer, slower. The crowd thinned near the center of the ballroom, where soft golden light bathed the marble floor. Isabella's father mingled with ministers and investors, leaving her free to orbit among polite conversations. Ethan shadowed her, always near but never intrusive, a silent presence against the gleam of chandeliers. Then, suddenly chaos. It began as a murmur near the entrance, a shout, the sound of something metallic hitting marble. The music faltered, glass shattered, a scream. Isabella's laughter froze in her throat. Before her mind could catch up, Ethan was in motion, swift, precise, purposeful. He moved in front of her like instinct embodied, drawing her behind him with one strong arm. "Stay down," he said, voice low but steady. Her heart hammered as guests ducked and scattered. Someone shouted for security, another cried out in fear. Isabella's mind spun, but Ethan was a fixed point amid the storm. Two masked men at the far side of the hall, armed, desperate, shouting orders. Ethan's hand went to his earpiece, the other guiding Isabella toward the nearest pillar. "Cole, what's happening?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Stay behind me," he said, eyes scanning. "Backup's moving in." His calm was unreal, his breathing even, his stance unshakable. When one of the intruders turned in their direction, Isabella's stomach twisted in fear. Ethan stepped forward, body angled, shielding her completely. The crack of gunfire split the air. Guests screamed again. The chandelier's light flared against the smoke of chaos. Ethan's command rang clear through the noise. "Down." He moved fast, too fast for her to fully register. One moment, she was staring at the chaos. The next, he'd pulled her into the shelter of the marble column, his hand firm against her shoulder, his frame blocking her from everything beyond. Her breath shook. "Ethan." "Don't move." His voice cut clean through the panic. "You're safe here." She looked up at him, eyes wide, trying to understand how anyone could look so calm while the world screamed. He wasn't just calm. He was absolute focus, his every muscle alert, his expression unreadable but steady. Seconds stretched like hours. Then, the intruders subdued, the hall filling with the heavy breath of aftermath, security swarming in. The danger was over, but Isabella's pulse hadn't slowed. Ethan turned back to her, crouching slightly to meet her eyes. "You're all right, Miss Knight." She nodded shakily. Yes, I think so." "Good." He helped her stand, his hand steady at her arm, his voice as calm as ever. "You did fine." "I wasn't brave," she whispered. "You didn't need to be. That's my job." Something in his tone, firm, quiet, resolute, anchored her. For the first time in her life, Isabella Knight, who laughed in the face of decorum and toyed with danger for amusement, felt truly small against the magnitude of another person's composure. She didn't know what to say, so she didn't. She just looked at him, really looked, and in that silent gaze, something unspoken passed between them. Something new, something frighteningly gentle. He turned to the arriving officers, his command voice sharp again. "Secure the exits. Check all vehicles." Isabella barely heard him. She was still staring, her breath uneven. Her thoughts tangled between fear and something that felt like awe.